Good evening to everybody. This is Wednesday, the 6th of January 2021. A new year, happy new year to everybody who didn't join us last week for our special broadcast, our New Year's stream on Saturday. Happy New Year to everyone, and thank you for joining us. This is Wednesday the 6th, and this is Christopher Daigen coming to you from our home in Pietermaritzburg. And we're very, very pleased to see you all here. I'm sure those of you who are living locally in this part of town and in this part of the world are very, very pleased, not only that I'm here, because also it means that you can see me. And for those of you who didn't join us last week on Saturday, we had a special stream because we had no power whatsoever. In fact, we had no power for 7 days from last week, Wednesday. Miraculously, by some miracle, the power reappeared. Well, not miraculously, due to the hard work of the municipal employees on the ground who reorganized or rebuilt the substation, basically, that went up in flames. And it's been a really harrowing and a really dreadful experience, I'm sure, for everyone involved. And the most difficult thing for me about it, I mean, it's one thing to live without power, but if you know when it's going to happen, you know when it's going to come back, it's not the end of the world. You can make plans, but when you're waiting for 1 hour, 2 hours for the lights to miraculously come on, it's a yes or no situation. It's a make or break. There's no, you have lights and energy and power, or you don't. There's nothing else. And we don't have any generator. We hired a generator and extra lighting, thanks to Kevin Liddell for a big beat on Saturday night for supporting us with that. And we were making plans to do the same, but last night, miraculously, at about 11:30, the power reappeared and everything's back on. Although we don't know, it might fail, it might be rationed out to someone else at any point during the stream. So if it disappears, you'll know what's happened. And then apparently, just to please everyone, load shedding is starting tonight again at 10 o'clock. So we're here, we are live. Thank you for joining us. And we had to share with you, if nothing goes wrong, if we have that most basic, this really does count on, it is going to happen. So say the most difficult thing was just the constant waiting and wondering for a week, 7 days, wondering minute by minute to see what's going to happen and to see if the power is in fact going to reappear. So this evening we'd had made plans, and now the power's back. I've had to change the plan somewhat. So this evening I am going to present a very relaxed program, a program of calming music, a program of a lot of gentle moods, a lot of flowing and sustained sounds at the piano. And I'm keeping that within the theme or with the idea that I often have on these Wednesday streams, and that is music from many cultures and many parts around the world. So I really hope you're going to join us and enjoy this trip around some very beautiful music from different continents and different places. And I'm really mixing things up. I'm going to start off with something that I might normally play at the end of the program, a piece by the Italian contemporary pianist Ludovico Einaudi. We have got titles for you this evening. We're venturing out into bringing titles onto the program as well, now that we have access to this supercharged computer which can handle all the live stream and all the graphics. Ludovico Einaudi, contemporary Italian pianist, very popular musician, and this is a piece of his called Nuvolo Bianchi, or White Clouds. And straight after that, I'm going to go right back to the 15th century English composer William Byrd and his pavane for the Earl of Salisbury, a very ancient, that old English, ye old English sound, you might say. Always funny putting that oldie English look and feel on words. So it's the real oldie English sound. And this is the pavane by William Byrd. But first of all, Nuvolo Bianchi, a very gentle billowing piece by Ludovico Einaudi. two highly contrasted pieces there. First of all, Ludovico Einaudi, a contemporary Italian pianist that you always say you might have seen him on social media playing an elegy, a lament for the icebergs, and you can see him playing on an iceberg, on his piano on the iceberg, on a raft as the icebergs melt around him. And but hugely popular, and I think a very beautiful piece called Nuvolo Bianchi, or White Clouds. And after that, William Byrd, 15th century English composer, and his Pavane, the Earl of Salisbury. I'm going to move on to another Pavane, this time by the French composer Ravel. We've had Italy and England, now off to France. And Ravel wrote this beautiful Pavane, again, a stately dance, a courtly dance of great stature and poise. And Ravel called it Le Pavane pour l'enfant défunt, or the Pavane for the dead princess. And there was no dead princess, there was no one who died. It was literally a fanciful title that Ravel conjured up in order to create the atmosphere of a very austere and regal procession. And as I have recently discovered in the last couple of months, that in fact, I always thought it was for a dead infant, but it's a dead infanta. An infanta referring to a princess in the courts of Spain or Portugal. And we have our own little princess who's demanding attention. Here is little Lucy. Little Lucy's already, Lucy, we've only just started the program. You're only allowed to come in at the end. Here is Lucy. Lucy's coming to say hello. She hasn't said hello to everyone for a while. So here's little Lucy. Lucy, the long-haired dachshund. Lucy, what did you make of the 7-day power outage? Any words, any advice from you? I think Lucy was quite content. There was a bed to sleep in, and there was food to be had galore. You were okay with it. You even had a chance to snuggle with your sisters. Sometimes it was hot and sometimes it was cold. And then you had a swim. Little Lucy. Now Lucy's going to go back and hopefully there we go back casually and calmly into her little cushion. Talking of food, what are I don't want to go on about this. The most difficult, the most uncomfortable thing about this is that obviously in this heat, somewhere between 24 and 30 degrees day in, day out, everything in the fridge reaches an expiry date very quickly. And today, when the power came on, I happened to have a closer look at the contents of what I hadn't thrown out, and boy, did I discover a science experiment of note. Anyway, so I've been cleaning, every dish has been re-cleaned and re-washed, and no hot water, no electricity, and washing machine, tumble dryer, and a dishwasher, and I don't think I've ever gone through so much hot water in my life as I did today. Anyway, it's all back on track. So after the Pavane by Maurice Ravel, the French composer, the Pavane for the Dead Infanta, I'm going to move on to a piece by a Dutch composer, Jan Tiersen, very contemporary like Ludovico Einaudi. Also writes this beautiful piano music from a suite of his called Usha, France, where he lives. And he was inspired by various scenes, and this is the opening track from very interesting, very beautiful music that he wrote. It makes the piano hover and just flow and sing in a very unique and beautiful way from the suite, an opening number called Pern. Two very contrasted pieces there again. The first of which, the beautiful Pavane for the Dead Enfant pour Enfants Defunct by Maurice Ravel, French composer, and after that the Dutch composer Jan Tiersen, a contemporary composer who writes the most incredibly beautiful and atmospheric and exotic music for various films. I'm sure if you research his music, you'll find that you have recognized much of his music in contemporary French films that you might have seen. And I'm going to move on to a completely different style, set of three pieces, starting off with a beautiful nocturne, a very piece redolent of night atmospheres by Edvard Grieg, Scandinavian or Norwegian composer. And in particular, the seasons are so particularly marked, are so contrasted that I think a beautiful summer night atmosphere is depicted in this very richly laden piece. You also hear the birds call, perhaps the nightingale at the beginning and somewhere in the middle and at the end of the piece. And I apologize, my piano is not sounding its best. One of the things, as I mentioned on Saturday, that the dehumidifier, so the dehumidifier and the air conditioning are quite critical in terms of keeping the tuning and the regulation and the toning of the piano quite stable. And of course, without that for a week in this extreme humidity, it's all just gone a bit haywire. So we're waiting to get the humidity stable again in the room, and then the piano tuner will be coming back, hopefully, within a day or two to resurrect the perfect tuning and regulation that it usually has. So after Grieg, I'm going to play a contemporary piece by a Japanese female composer, Karen Tanaka, a piece called Lavender Field. And I've played this piece of music for some time. It was commissioned for a project by the Associated Board of the Royal School of Music, who commissioned a number of contemporary composers around the world to write short pieces for their graded piano exams. And this appears in this coming year's for the year that I am hoping to present the complete syllabus, the complete lists of pieces that many of these students, many young students might be playing and looking for the repertoire. To play all of the books or all of the pieces in the books by the various composers in a particular session. It's going to take me a while to learn some of them. By no means am I intending or able to produce a model interpretation, but perhaps in some of the discussion and some of the enjoyment of the music, it might inspire someone to play something I would normally choose. And then to end off that set, after Lavender Field, a beautiful waltz in A flat from the Opus 69 set by Frederick Chopin, a very gentle in A flat by Frederick Chopin. 3 pieces in our program of gentle, calming, and flowing music from around the world. I started off that session of 3 pieces with the Nocturne by the Norwegian composer Edvard Grieg, followed by Dutch but Japanese composer Karen Tanaka and her Lavender Fields. Not quite what she wrote in the end. I must apologize. I saw something which sounded like I'd never seen it before, which sometimes happens. And then the last piece, the Chopin Waltz in A flat, opus 69. I'm going to make one slight change to the program. Barry, who's running the controls this evening, I'm going to play 3 pieces. I realize I've left one out. I'm going to start off with the African-American composer Scott Joplin and his Pineapple Ragtime, this ragged rhythm, but in this case, a very gentle and a very relaxed ragtime, the Pineapple Rag. Straight after that, wonderful composition, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart from one of his early youthful compositions, a sonata in G. This is the second movement, the Andante, from the sonata K283, and I left this out on the title, so there will be no title for this. The South African composer Abdullah Ibrahim and his very iconic, beautiful atmospheric number, The Wedding. So this is Scott Joplin, Mozart, and Abdullah Ibrahim. That set of three pieces, they're ending with the South African composer Abdullah Ibrahim and his iconic number, The Wedding. Before that, I played the Andante from the Sonata in G major, K283 by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. And to start that session of three pieces, Scott Joplin, the African-American composer, and his very relaxed Pineapple Rag. I see Lucy's coming to visit again, but I don't think you're not going to bark now, Lucy, are you? No, Lucy's going to be very well behaved now at this point. You are just going to sit there in your basket, off you go, in your basket. Come on, Lucy. I'm going to end off this evening's session of relaxing and gentle flowing music from around the world with two compositions, the first of which is from a composer which I'm sure we will be hearing quite a lot of this year. Certainly I'm hoping to feature a lot of his music. That is Astor Piazzolla, composer whose family emigrated from Italy to Argentina, Argentinian composer of Italian background and a great tango composer, and he combined the dance tango, took the tango from the dance halls into a whole new realm of music in the great concert of the halls of the world by combining elements of popular music, jazz and contemporary classical. But the piece I'm going to play for you this evening is in fact one of his dance tangos, an early piece intended for dancing called Apuro. And it's a very sultry, very atmospheric piece of music, a beautiful melody with some very interesting chords. Piazzolla himself, a version, we'll talk about this later at some point during the year, but a version of the accordion, somewhat between a squash box, as we might know it in South Africa, and an accordion, a button accordion with buttons on both ends, a very large instrument that's capable of great power and rhythmic drive, as well as an expressive nuance and long melodic lines. On that melodic line, one of the highlights which we will be having this year, I'm always trying to feature a guest artist, and certainly if plans work out at the end of January, because we always play a number of Piazzolla's compositions in my program, as well as the composition which I'm going to end this evening's program with, and that is my own piece called Indigo. James and I always play Indigo in our concerts. It's every single concert we played, and it's always been an audience favorite with the guitar and piano. I'm obviously playing the solo piano version tonight, but it's yet to be seen whether that could be possible with travel restrictions and if it's actually viable for James to fly up here for the week for us to do a number of concerts. It'll be a joint concert as well as a recital, solo recital for James. And there'll also be with the possibility of James performing quite mobile and being quite mobile. It's difficult to move a piano around into the garden or into another location. But with James and a guitar, there's one or two possibilities that we could have a change of scenery for you to enjoy with a solo recital from him. So this is Astor Piazzolla, Apuro, followed by one of my own compositions, Indigo. to end this evening's program of Piano Hour on Wednesday, the 6th of January, with myself, Christopher Daigan, coming from my home in KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. So it's one of my own compositions, a bit of an improvisation around it. It's not usually what I play, but a piece of my own called Indigo. And before that, composer Astor Piazzolla, who will be celebrating the 100th year of his birth in 1921, this year, in the year 2021. But Piazzolla is what I expected it to be, which is Italian. So anyone who has, in fact, first-hand knowledge or can give me a definitive answer whether it's Piazzolla or Piazzolla, I'd be very interested to know, because I'm going to be talking about him a lot this year. That brings us to the end of this evening's program. We hope you've enjoyed a selection of music from around the world, from various different countries, on a gentle and largely. If you are able to support us, please, once again, I feel getting like a stuck record every time, our 81st stream, and I've mentioned this every time. If you are able to support us, please do visit our website, or if you have a smartphone with a camera app, you can point it at your screen if you're watching on a computer or on a screen right now, or follow the links at my website, the donate page, to banking details or PayPal, however you would like to support us. We're very grateful for every support that does come through, and it really is essential that people are supporting us. We fortunately are receiving generous donations from a number of very loyal supporters. Seems to be a very small group of people who are supporting me every month, and I'm very thankful to them. To keep these live stream programs going, to cover the technical costs, as well as just to keep earning a living under these lockdown conditions. Thanks again to Barry for the technical support this evening, for the beautiful orchid. I hope you've noticed this beautiful orchid right in the front here, which is in a pot, one of Barry's own pots that he's making. And he's going to be starting to resurrect his pot-making business after he burnt his kiln out a year or so ago. And thanks to, they've got Frida and Frida and Lucy at least is here. Thanks for keeping quiet, girls, and enjoying the music. It's very restful. Hope you have a good evening. Hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Look after yourselves. Stay well. I'm going to play out with a little improvisation. See you next week on Saturday in a few days' time for music by Bach, Chopin, Liszt, and Debussy.